Samson brings a kid, and then the Philistines turns around and burns the father and the daughter. So there's a false altar being built here. So it sounds to me as though Samson was either bringing a fellowship offering here, yes, or a grain offering, because it talks about the wheat harvest. So when we read Leviticus on the grain harvest, or the grain offering, and at the end of chapter 2 of Leviticus, it says that the grain offering is shall burn the memorial portion of the crushed grain. So it's like it's a memorial offering, a memory, to hold memory of something. Yes. So Samson went with I would say it's like a peace offering. He went with a peace offering to the father to remember his wife. But the father had already given the wife over. So Samson was like setting up an altar, but it was in the wrong location because it's with the Philistine. So his heart is still of the Lord. Yes, his heart is still of the Lord. But there's a consequence now, because when we read Leviticus, there is a way that the Lord likes his altar to be set up. And I'm just going to read chapter 2, part of the grain offering. I won't read it all here, but it says, when someone brings a grain offering to the Lord, his offering is to be of fine flour. He is to pour oil on it, put incense on it, and take it to Aaron's son, the priest. The priest shall take a handful of the fine flour and oil, together with all the incense, and burn this as a memorial portion on the altar, an offering made by fire, an aroma pleasing to the Lord. The rest of the grain offering belongs to Aaron and his sons. It is the most holy part of the offering made to the Lord by fire. And I was saying, so it's just like I was saying about the burnt offering, that when these substances are put on fire, which is of a high energy, they change. They change from a low impact to a high impact. They change from a substance in lower energy, where they're dense and cumbersome, and into a higher energy, where they're less dense, and they're coming into divine spiritual energy. Yes, I said water in a low temperature, freezing temperature, below 0 degrees, becomes ice. But as the room temperature climbs up, there's more of a pressure, higher pressure going on in the room, more vibration, energy. The ice melts and becomes water. But as the pressure becomes higher, more energy in the room, the ice now, the water starts to vaporize and become steam, and then after a while you just don't see it. But the water vapor is in the air until it condenses. When the air cools, and now you see the condensation, you see the water, the steam or the vaporization, it turns and becomes fluidy. Yeah. So it's the same thing when you take the grain offering and you burn it on the fire. It changes its substance, but as it changes, it comes into divine energies, which now reaches up to the Lord. And so now the Lord, he's in heaven, but he has or reaches up to God, heaven, the Lord. He has no wickedness, no evil, but it's a way of the naturalness of his hands, the works of his hands, the grain, goes up into his heaven. And so now it's like it opens a portal gate, and he can send down his blessings upon the earth. Yeah. So the altar is a way of connecting with the Lord, and it separates the evil that's going on around. So there will come a time when we can really look at the different offerings and how each offering can have its significance. But in this one, it was a memorial offering. So the grain went up, and so the Lord God will remember his promise, remember his goodness, remember his mercy upon his people. Yes, but here, the significance here, the message I'm hearing here is the false altars. And I think that the Lord is going to do a movement on the earth soon where false altars, and I have really been prophesying that false altars will be exposed and brought down. And I really ask the people I petition them to look at the idea of Jesus dying on a cross. Is that really an altar? Though as I read on, I see that Jesus' story is a metaphor of what's going to happen to humanity right now. Yes, there will be shedding of the blood. People will die and then resurrect. The death will be the death to the flesh, because the flesh is sinful. It's the adversary. So in order to come into the kingdom of heaven that is soon to arrive on the earth, we have to shed the flesh. We have to die to the flesh. We have to die to seed and rebirth into the new blood, into the new plant, the shoot. Yes? Into the new greenery shoot. We have to die, leave the seed. No more to be a seed, but come into who we really are. The blueprint shall start to be activated. Yes? So we will leave this flesh and we'll come into who we really are in the Lord, and that's our light bodies. And so now we come into higher knowledge and into our truth. But right now in this lower density, this lower energy, this lower consciousness of death, we're not in our truth. It's all a mockery of what the goodness that the Lord has for us. So here is a false altar, because he brings his peace offering, he brings his grain offering, the memorial, but this time it talks about the kid, so I'm kind of swaying here. So he brings the kid, so he's bringing some form of offering, and I'm saying it was a fellowship offering here, because if someone's offering is a fellowship offering, and he offers an animal from the herd, whether male or female, he is to present it before the Lord, an animal without defect. He is to lay his hand on the head of his offering, and slaughter it at the entrance of the tent of meeting. Then Aaron's son, the priest, shall sprinkle the blood against the altar on all sides. From the fellowship offering, he is to bring a sacrifice made to the Lord by fire, all the fat that covers the inner parts or is connected to them, both kidneys with the fat around them near their loins, and the covering of the liver, which he will remove with the kidneys. Then Aaron's son are to burn it on the altar on top of the burnt offering that is on the burning wood, as an offering made by fire, an aroma pleasing to the Lord. Yeah? If he offers an animal from the flock as a fellowship offering to the Lord, he is to offer a male or female without defect. If he offers a lamb, he is to present it before the Lord. He is to lay his hand on the head of his offering and slaughter it in front of the tent of meeting. Then Aaron's son shall sprinkle its blood against the altar on all sides. From the fellowship offering he is to bring a sacrifice made to the Lord by fire. Its fat, the entire fat tail, cut off close to the backbone, all the fat that covers the inner parts or is connected to them, both kidneys with the fat on them near the loins, and the covering of the liver which he will remove with the kidneys. The priest shall burn them on the altar as food, an offering made to the Lord by fire. Now I just extended that reading because an actual deliverance starts to take place, and those who are listening, there will be those who are going to start to experience a deliverance. This is something that I realized the other night, that actual deliverance, actual people are actually freed from unclean spirits. Yes, so I just had a little interruption here. So I said I deliberately expanded on the fellowship offering, and so this is like so the fellowship offering. I've lost track. So I just had an interruption there, so it's taken the flow of discerning the difference between the different offerings. So the fellowship offering, let's take it at what it says. It's a fellowship. It's like union. It's a union offering. And I said that I'd like to spend time at some point to really see how the different offering can help us to connect with the Lord and what is actually taking place there. Because there's one offering, the first offering, the burnt offering, that was to bring in, that was to alleviate sin and to bring us into oneness with the Lord. And that's what we saw that Samson's parents did. But just to stay to the point, so I won't have you swerving like the camel had me swerving on Mount Sinai there. I'm hearing that this is a false altar because Samson brings the kid, which is like a fellowship offering. But then the Philistines come and burn the wife, the father and the wife's house. Yeah. So it's saying here, depicting a message of false altars, and that in this coming season that the Lord will discern, he will distinguish false altars to his true altars, because altars are a way to connect to the Lord. But false altars in the Philistines will be one to connect to other forces or inferior forces to the Lord God. And the Lord will cut that off. He will cut that off. The only altar that should reign on his coming on the earth will be his altar. And I was saying that today's people really need to study to come to understand the altar of God. Now, I know that this is a really sensitive situation on looking on Jesus on the cross, but this is something that the Lord highlighted. And I'm going to hand this one back to the Lord God. He highlighted, and I said I had an experience too, where Jesus actually came to me. I was doing some prayers, and I was at a place in my home that I call the altar. And I was reading the Bible, and I was questioning this thing about death. And I'm telling you, I heard Jesus say to me, I didn't die on the cross. And I turned around looking, who said that to me? And I said, you know what? I knew that. It doesn't make sense. When I read the Bible and listen to what the Lord God says, it doesn't make sense that, Abraham didn't kill his child, and it doesn't make sense that God should really want to kill a child of his when he's against death. Yes, and because he deals with the soul and with the everlasting life. Yeah. So I'm really saying that we're going through a grace period where we have to start to discern truth. Now, there's a challenge on this question, on what I'm saying here, what I'm putting forward, because I'm saying that the trumpets are blasting, and as you walk around the road, if you drive down the road, walk along the street, you listen to the newsreel, you read the daily newspaper, nobody is stirring, nobody is alarmed by what's taking place. Yes, very few people even discuss it. It's not even a round table discussion. Yeah. So it's either they're in denial, either they just become desensitized to all the crimes and the evils that take place in the world, or people are just not in touch with the divine being, their divineness. Because again, a few weeks ago in one of the podcasts, I said that divine energies are radiating upon the earth, and this is like an awakening process for humanity, and it's also an awakening of the divine being, and the divine self is what connects us to the heavens. So is this saying that people are remote from the divine, the divinity within themselves, that they are not really respecting and honoring the divine calling that's coming upon the earth? Yes, they're what I'd say in darkness, when they're not connecting with the divine in themselves that connects to the heavens and connect to God. There is a loss of connection going on there. And so therefore, effectively, there is false altars going on, because people aren't really sensitized to what is the truth. We're in a death consciousness, in the tomb, in a mockery, mocking the truth of the Lord, and a mockery to what the real honor and worship of the Lord God is. So I'm hearing here is a false altar that is